Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are on the planet. This was an unexpected breaking news, but we are here and we were ready. I should say I was ready. Sean's ready. I think he'll be here shortly. Gerald, I think, might still be sleeping, but breaking news, the Lakers have acquired Dorian Finney-Smith and Shake Milton for D'Angelo Russell, Maxwell Lewis, and 3 second-round picks. Yes, there's been some rumors about Dorian Finney-Smith possibly being an option for the Lakers. I wasn't sure how I felt about that at the time. Still don't really know how I feel about it right now, but we are in that place right now, and we're trying to figure out if this is something that's going to definitely help. I know on the defensive end, this is a giant upgrade, and if it's going to help offensively, that's gonna kind of it's probably going to be kind of gravy at that point. But I know this is probably more now a depth at the small forward position to help LeBron, and definitely helping the defense. Because one thing that has helped a little bit is guys like Max Christie and the role players have tightened up their defense a little bit, and it has helped the Lakers kind of sustain some of these wins against the upper echelon teams like Memphis. So, again, for those of you who just joined in or unexpectedly joined in, the Lakers have acquired Dorian Finney-Smith from the Brooklyn Nets with Shake Milton, and the players that are going out as D'Angelo Russell. The D'Angelo Russell experiment is finally over. The Lakers went at it twice, and fortunately have not weren't able to work it out the second time. I thought it almost did last year, but unfortunately, just you just couldn't find his footing, and I don't know if he'll find it in Brooklyn. Maybe he will again, but we are at the point now where we're not having to worry about starting these games anymore with D'Angelo Russell and wondering whether it's going to be really, really bad D'Angelo Russell or just bad D'Angelo Russell, because that's pretty much what he's been the last couple months. So yeah, it's done. What ends up happening after now? Hey, how you doing, Fred? Thanks for joining Football Sunday tonight or this morning. I know it's going to take some of y'all to kind of venture into here with Football Sunday, as well as the holiday aftermath of Christmas is still kind of there. But we're going to do our best to. I'm going to do my best to put a show on here tonight and answer any questions you have, seeing what kind of moves are left. One of the things that I noticed about the trade is they're still under the second apron. I think that was the whole goal of this trade and why it played out the way it did. I think some of the information that I got or at least from the Lakers standpoint, they're looking at a 3-and-D wing without parting with a first-round pick, which there was some rumors that Dorian Finney-Smith was going to garner a first-round pick from, I think there was the early one was Memphis. It was the Memphis Grizzlies that were close on a deal for him, and they were going to send out a first-round pick. But when I was looking at that deal a couple days ago, I was like, are you really going to send out a first pick for Dorian Finney-Smith? I don't think it's that. I don't think he's that kind of guy. And the Lakers ended up sending 3 second-round picks and still being able to stay financially where they wanted to stay. And of course, getting rid of a player like D'Angelo Russell and Maxwell Lewis, whom unfortunately did not live up to the hype or in any way, any coherent basketball for the Lakers. So it's not a bad deal. It's not likely going to set the Lakers on fire in terms of going to the next step, but they did get a 3 times better defender in Dorian Finney-Smith. And he's only averaging about 10 points a game. But in the end, if you can solve maybe one little issue and be 100% on that, I think you might get that with him on the defensive end. And we'll see if he can acclimate in terms of the offense. The Lakers seem to score pretty well. Last night was a pretty good example. I know it was against the Kings, but I think the Lakers feel that their scoring is okay. I think what they wanted to do is tighten up the defense a little bit, even though I've been preaching that defense in the defense in the uh, NBA is kind of non-existent. Sorry, I'm getting text messages from Sean here that they didn't get a link. I sent an email. I don't know what you guys are doing. Hold on. Let me see what I can do here, guys. 1 second. Sent a link. What's going on here, guys? You guys checking your emails? I don't know what's going on here. Let me see if I can send another one. So what the hell is going on here? Maybe I sent it to myself. Let's see where we're at here, guys. Sorry for the delay. We are going to, where are we here? Where are we? Joe, gotta get everybody here. So if I went and replied to everything here, let's see. There we go. And then we have, okay, there we go. Boys are here. Okay, sent. Gotta love technology. Anyways, Betty, where are you at, bud? I just sent the new link. I just sent the link. Let's see. Lakers moved into 5th place behind a resurgent defense and some timely 3-point shooting, and Rob got off the pot. So working the deals. Does this benefit? If you had to ask a simple question of, is this a good deal for the Lakers? I think anything that allowed you to unload D'Angelo Russell for someone who may benefit more than Russell has benefited in any part of that game is going to be a good deal. I'm going to say this is a good deal. This was not in any way a bad deal. They don't lose hardly anything. I don't really value too much of the second round picks at this moment, especially if you're going for a possible title run, which we didn't think was in any way possible, given the fact that the lack of talent was suspect during the summer. But there are some guys kind of coming up here and figuring some things out. I'm we've talked about this on the show. It's one of those things where we want to be wrong. We are rarely wrong in terms of the results of what the team ends up having, but we are starting to feel, at least Gerald and I and some of the guys on the show are starting to feel like maybe we've been looking at this a little bit more on the negative side instead of hopefully reality. And that's good. That's a good thing. There's nothing better right now than being wrong. We want Rob Pelinka to be a better general manager, and we want guys like Max Christie and Vando to be available for once. We don't want these guys to fail. We want the Lakers to win, and if it means us being wrong, then so be it. But right now, it's getting a little bit better. Lakers are in the 5th spot. They just added some talent and didn't have to give up too much. The only thing is you can't use that D'Angelo Russell expiring contract now. So this was your one-time gig. So if the Lakers are to make another move, they're probably going to have to move some talent, whether it's going to be Rui, whether it's going to be Austin. So that's kind of where they're at on that. See, we didn't give up a first for DFS after Memphis was willing to do it. I think it's a good deal. Yeah, I'm kind of curious what happened with the Memphis deal. How you doing, Gustavo? Yes, excellent news indeed. Again, I thought that deal was done yesterday. I don't know what changed it. Maybe Memphis decided to go back on giving up a first-round pick, and then that was finally kind of the deal where they're saying, look, Brooklyn was trying to squeeze that somebody for a first-round pick for DFS, and then they're like, and then maybe Memphis came back and said, nah, we're not going to give you a first. We'll give you a few seconds. And they're like, you know what? We'll just take the expiring contract from the Lakers and get probably the 3 seconds from the Lakers. Maybe they were going to get 2 seconds from Memphis for all we know. I don't know. But again, I think it's a good deal. Nothing earth-shattering, but a good deal to get kind of the negativity out of our area of D'Angelo Russell's play, as well as Maxwell Lewis's play. Memphis may have balked at the first-round pick for 2. Yeah, that would be a smart move. There's no way. I remember reading that yesterday. There's no way that should have been an option for I think that would have set the market in a weird way again, and I think smarter heads prevailed on that one. What should we do with Vando? Tough. I don't really think that you can do anything right now. I think right now the Lakers have to almost wait this out and see how it plays out in terms of his health. No one is going to want him unless he's part of a package where they're going to get a player they really want. The Lakers don't really have any player on the team that other teams really want that they'd be willing to take on that contract. It's very likely that Vando will remain a Laker for the rest of the year, regardless if he plays or he doesn't play. That's just kind of what it is. He's an injury-prone player. He's good in spots, but he's not that good. I think he's been highly overrated. Even when he's played well, he's highly overrated, in my opinion. Yes, he's good on defense. Yes, he's made some plays, but I'm sorry. Playing an 82-game season and being really good on defense for about 25 games is not enough, especially considering he's not really playing anywhere near 82 games. He's usually playing 30 to 40 games, and he's good for about maybe 15 games on defense and sucking on offense too. So that doesn't really do anything in the end, in my opinion, especially now that you have DFS on the team. You have another guy that can play some defense. There's some words that they're throwing around in terms of 3 and D. I wouldn't go that far, but he's definitely going to be better overall as an overall player than D'Angelo Russell has been this year. So, Sean, the catalyst in getting my rear end here to host the show. I usually don't do this. This is usually a Gerald Glassford thing because Gerald's usually at the computer all day doing stuff. But I did get on board. I did put on all the shenanigans to start this thing. The only thing I screwed up was sending out the links because I accidentally sent it to myself. But I was in an unnecessary hurry.
Good job, Joe.
Yeah, thanks.
Good job, Joe. Doing a good job under duress.
Very good, very good. Anyway, so what's your assessment on this trade? The consensus so far on the message boards as well as the chat room is that the trade was a good one, and give us some insight on why it's a good one and what this is going to do for the Lakers between now and the deadline, should there be another one.
Yeah, I mean it's not terrible. I'll say that it wasn't a bad. It doesn't look bad on the surface. So DFS and Shake Milton. So I mean, we didn't lose guard depth. We might have lost a little bit in productivity, but oh well. And we added some much needed flexibility with on the wing there, Joe. And now the question becomes, who is the odd man out now in the starting 5? Is it Christie or is it Rui? Because DFS becomes a starter. Austin's a starter. LeBron's a starter. And AD's a starter. So there's only one spot left. So I think that's the kind of tentacle. The first tentacle off of this trade is who's in the starting 5.
I'd say Dorian Finney-Smith is more of a small forward, would you say?
He can guard small forwards and power forwards, Joe. He can guard bigger men than him.
I always say, if you're going to be a tweener at the small forward and power forward area and you can guard both, you're probably more needed guarding the small forward.
Yes.
Small forwards are more athletic. They're more dangerous. They're more striking mode if you're a good one. So my assumption, or I should say my answer to your question, sorry, Benny, I'm going to send it right now. I thought I'd sent it to you guys. I don't know what the hell going on. I went reply all. I don't know why it's not working. Hold on a second here. Sorry, Sean.
Yeah, well, the question becomes how much balance do you want in your wing depth on the court to start the game versus your bench. So who's coming off the bench? I wouldn't necessarily move Max Christie to the bench right away, Joe.
Okay.
I'd go with AR, Max Christie, DFS, LeBron, AD. That would be my starting five right now. You've won 4 out of 5 with Max Christie in the starting lineup.
Yay! A subscriber!
I think that's probably how it's going to play out. I think Rui has kind of more of a seniority thing there. But the question I have is, are Christie's played better as a starter than he has coming off the bench?
Mm-hmm.
Mess with that. Would you rather mess with that or have Rui come off the bench, or do you have Austin come off the bench?
No, see, now this is what we're talking about, right? At least now, Joe, with the trade, we can talk about options. Like, this team has options now when you look at the personnel they have on the floor. Like, you have actually now a mixture of offense and defense you could put. Like, I'm already thinking about, at least now with DFS and Max Christie, you know what you can do, Joe? You can play Dalton Connect a lot more because he's got a solid defender out there with him on the perimeter. He's not by himself. No lonesome doves for these kids anymore, because now you've got some flexibility. Plus, it was kind of a Moneyball trade too, because according to Bobby Marks, the Lakers get $3.5 million under the apron, which is great, and that kind of portends to making another move. Maybe not a big move, but it portends to making another move because he created some flexibility. So I got to give Rob Pelinka a B plus on this trade.
Yeah, it went from 30,000 to 3.5 million on this trade. If I didn't know any better, I would say, looking at it from a contractual standpoint and a apron standpoint, it was a smart deal anyways, even if it wasn't. That he did two things here, barring the talent switch, is he got rid of a player that was just not, it wasn't working anymore. And
Plateaued. It completely plateaued.
we can't keep going into every game and going, geez, okay, is D'Angelo going to show up? Because it becomes a frustrating thing. And now we don't have to worry about that anymore. And that's an important psyche thing. It's important to a team to not have to go in. I'm sure if it was bothering us, I could tell it was probably bothering JJ and Rob to hell, right? That's their business. So that part is done. And then, of course, the money situation in terms of flexibility of possibly getting something else down the road, then that becomes now an option that wasn't there initially. So those are two good things. I'm gonna say B plus is probably the perfect grade for this. Absolutely. We're gonna go to Jamie here. Jamie, sorry for taking a minute here. I don't know, for some reason I lost my ways of emailing, and I wasn't able to send the link to everybody. But Jamie got on pretty quick on the chat. I kind of felt like, you know what, I just thought you had gotten the link. I'm sorry for the delay, but Jamie, you seem to be pretty attentive to the deal. What's your assessment on what the results will likely be, and then also what possible move could be next?
Well, it's a solid move because you're going to lose D'Lo in the summer. It was not meant to be a further relationship on down the line. This is it for D'Lo. He was going to move on. I don't think we were going to keep him beyond this season. I just don't. So I know I was noticing that too, Alan. I'm like a floating head here. But I don't know about a next move. I mean, getting $3 million under the cap is nice, but we still have 15 players on the roster. Maximum is 15 players, so we would have to waive somebody, which generally costs a second round draft pick. We just sent out 2 second round draft picks. I don't personally see Rob making that move. He could have made it in the summer. He could have made it. There would have been more chances, I think, to have made it when there were more teams under the cap. Now I think it's just Detroit. If memory serves, maybe San Antonio, but I think just Detroit. Detroit's still like 15 mil under the second apron, so they still have the most wiggle room to like absorb contracts into their space. So I'm battling a little bit of a cold because it's just the season, right? Yeah, I mean, listen, D'Lo had become redundant. Watching Austin Reeves the last few games, guys averaging 12 assists a game, 13 assists a game during this little stretch here. No, he's not going to be the second coming of Pistol Pete or White Chocolate, but he gets the job done. He's a solid scorer. He's a solid ball distributor. He's an okay defender. He's kind of like a jack of all trades glue guy, and that works. And the most important thing is he knows how to play with LeBron and AD, and that's the defining characteristic for any role player that we bring on the team. If you can't figure out how to do it with LeBron and AD, and D'Lo struggled to do it with LeBron and AD. He had a little stretch after he got benched last season where it looked like the switch had flipped. He had figured out how to be an aggressive version of himself, search for his own shot, get his own buckets, and play alongside LeBron and AD, and it kind of offset the defensive issues that he brings to the table. But that went away over the summer. It was gone. It wasn't coming back. I don't know why. He's in a contract year. You would think he would put the best version of himself out there, and I wasn't seeing it. And he had a couple of good games off the bench. It wasn't like he was a bad off the bench player, but it's a waste. It's a waste of $18 million. It's a waste of his talents. I mean, it just wasn't working. And it's unfortunate because the whole summer, all you ever heard anybody talking about was how JJ Redick's going to unlock D'Angelo Russell. And it was like, okay, cool. I'm looking forward to that. And it just didn't happen for whatever reason. And we'll never know why. It's just, we'll never know. And that's fine. But it's a little disappointing because I do very much like D'Angelo Russell. I think he's come a long way as a human being. I think he's a fine player. He's certainly a B, maybe a B-level star. He's not an A-lister. He's a B-lister. But you got 2 solid role players for him, and you can't ask for much more than that in a trade for a guy on an expiring contract to a team that's not trying to win. And what set this up for the Nets, I think, was trading Schroeder, who I go back and forth. Would it have been better? The only thing in my mind this morning is, would it have been better to try to really go hard for Schroeder, or is this better? Is it better to get a wing and a shooting guard or combo guard? I mean, Shake's really a combo guard. He's not a true shooting guard. He's an off the bench. He's not an off the bench microwave scorer. He's a rugged-ish defender. He's like Max Christie. He makes less. he's about Max Christie. And so I think Sean's right. I think off the bat, the only question for me is, does Rui stick in the starting lineup, or do you try to augment bench scoring and play Rui a little bit more at the 4-5? Because right now the Lakers, with Hayes out, with Wood seemingly forever about to come back on the court, Vando forever seemingly about to come back on the court, but not quite making it. Which we talked about yesterday. Why? How is it that Paolo Banchero is already coming back from his injury, and our guys are like still on crutches and wheelchairs?
But something, Jamie, it almost feels like the Magic are turning into that scene from Space Jam where everybody was just in the infirmary.
Right. Well, yeah. Now they're all getting rushed back out. Right. That's funny. That's a good point. I just don't understand how. I mean, that's a serious injury. I mean, Sean can discuss the severity of that injury more than a tweaked ankle.
Yeah.
I'm just having a hard time wrapping my head around the Lakers' injury woes these days. That's a separate topic.
But I mean, you're right, Jamie. That's one of the. At least now the Lakers have one of those nice problems to have. Like it's
Yeah.
like actually having a conversation now about how do we augment the bench scoring? What's the best way to squeeze the most juice out of this group of, collection? I'll use that term loosely,
That's a good one
collection
of
of
players.
players. Yeah, because
But
it's interesting. I wouldn't necessarily right now pull the trigger on taking Christie out of the starting lineup.
But you don't think Dorian Finney-Smith slots better in at the 3 than the 2?
See that's interesting because he could play 2, 3, and 4.
He can't.
He's 6'7". He's 220 pounds. He's very
Rui's
light,
bulky,
built,
right?
bulkier. Yes,
So he
like
can bang a little better. I think Finney's DFS is probably more of a 2 or 3. He can, if he was playing Golden State, then yeah, sure, he could be a he can be he could be a center. But
because I
most
think
teams,
yeah, because I'm thinking that way as well. I also think between Shake Rui, whatever you get from Gabe. That should be his nickname, Gabe. Whatever you get from me, Vincent. But yeah, I think
we're
between
not allowed to
Rui
stay
and
with the Heat ever again.
Rui and Shake, between Rui and Shake and Vando, if he comes back, Cam Reddish, Cardio Cam, I think he could still get 30 to 35 points out of that group. But then again, like maybe Joe raises a point. I do you want Reeves off the bench? No. You want him starting.
He has to, because he's the only player that seems willing to drive into the paint and make plays. Vincent can't do it. You lost D'Lo, who could do it in his weird tippy-toe ballet.
Austin has a lot of Manu Ginobili in his game.
Yeah, Kerr mentioned that the other day after Christmas, and I agree with that. It's sort of a catch. He kind of does a lot of things good. He does nothing great. And like, he can catch fire from 3 and score 30 points. He can dish 16 assists like he did last night and like really grease the wheels of the offense. Does he do all of that consistently every night? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But he's there. He's active. He's engaged. And that's all you can ask for on it. And he plays well with LeBron and AD. I've seen so many players come through this team that just get lost in the shadow of LeBron James and the desire to activate Anthony Davis to the detriment of their own games. And I think that was a riddle D'Lo had a hard time figuring out. Even though he figured it out, that's what drives me mad. He already figured it out. He just forgot, or I don't know what. But
because I think this, if there's another move to be made and it's not a big one, then because they've addressed the wing depth and a little bit of the guard depth here, I think they're going to address the backup center position.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see how that gets addressed, because it requires us to send out, let's say, I mean, what's the lowest hanging fruit? Valanciunas, right?
Yes.
That's what, 13 mil, 12 mil, something like that. So that's 2 players. That's like, unfortunately, that's like Max Christie and JHS. And if you had told me at the beginning of the year that I would start to like see what the team sees in Max Christie, I would have called you a fool. But I'm not going to lie, over the last 5 games, I've been like, I kind of see what the team sees in Max Christie. Like, it's not going to be Tony Allen, but it's not D'Angelo Russell. Like, it's like a nice blend of when the shot's open, he takes the open shot. If they like close out on him, he takes it to the rim. If the guy comes, if he holds his ground defensively, he's not defensive player of the year material, but he gets it done, and he's got quick hands, and he has good fundamentals. He's not like slapping down at the ball, he's slapping up at the ball, like little things like that. He's doing the fundamentals well, which is all you can really ask of a player of his age. And so, again, for the price as well, like these are solid players for the price, like $8 million. Do you really want to swap a guy where you desperately need help, right? The Lakers just traded arguably their best point guard on paper. Obviously, the fit didn't work out on in reality, but on paper, we just traded our best point guard for a bunch of combo guards.
Mm-hmm.
None of whom are great defenders. None of them are great scorers. They all just kind of have to work together to get a basic job done. Do you want to give up one of those for a guy? What's Valanciunas going to play? 15, 20 minutes a game?
The question there is,
I don't
are
know.
the Lakers going to give up a first? There's no doubt in my book that Valanciunas is Washington wants a first.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not a big deal if it's protected at the 14 in my book. If I'm being asked, hey, we need a first-round pick, does Valanciunas help this team enough this year with the talent they have now? And also kind of get me up to speed on this, because this is something I haven't really been
If you had another scorer, and you added Valanciunas, I would say yes. I think this year that ebb and flow of depth, I'd roll with that for this year.
Okay, so let's talk shop a little bit about their situation. First of all, how do they calculate a first round pick into a money deal? Does it?
No,
according to CBA, right? So now you still have to trade. You still have to trade
the money,
matching contracts, and then that draft pick doesn't count. Like, they can't calculate that number, right? So there's no doubt that someone is probably going to give Washington a first round pick in some scenario for him somewhere. Maybe not, but let's say someone really needs it. Let's say someone
Orlando might,
right?
Because
there's somebody out there that might not be in a position like the Lakers, where they've kind of given up a lot and they don't care. They're Orlando. They're going to take a shot at trying to go, maybe deep in the playoffs. So in that case, it makes sense that deal probably doesn't go through. The other part is, this leaves them open for what I ultimately believe is they're going to see if there's a chance that there might be a third guy that comes to fruition between now and the deadline. They did not lose out on that. Even though the expiring contract was what it is, they know, I'm talking about the Lakers, they know, all right, no one is untouchable on this team except LeBron and AD. We get that. Fine. But if we got this little deal here, if that's the only thing we got, it's better than what we had, because D'Angelo and Maxwell Lewis were disasters this year, if to say the least. But it also keeps us open to see if somebody finally, if we can sneak in somewhere and get that third guy. And then at that point, you'll roll with AD and Jackson Hayes and Koloko if it means you have a third star and some depth that can play defense. That's probably where they're at. And again, they have to factor in the financial situation as well. It's a pretty crazy setup. I wish the NBA didn't have to make it this complicated. I really wish they didn't. I think it's a detriment to even the teams.
It's a job creator, Joe. You need a cap expert, so it's just a trading job.
It's like you need to go to 5 different accountants just to get the right answer.
Right.
And that's the part that I don't like. That's the part that I'm saying, well, why does it have to be? Are you really worried about teams relinquishing their assets for nothing? Is that really what it is?
I mean, Ted Stepien traded first-round picks like they were going out of style.
I get that, but it's not. Look, if that's their choice, that's their choice.
See, Joe. See, you don't understand something. See, trading a first-round pick is a problem for Joe Soro down the road, not Joe Soro now. So why should I be penalized? No, it's a legitimate question. Why should I be feasibly penalized because I'm worried about a later problem because I want to solve a now problem?
Or are we planning or are we reacting?
Well, if you're really asking me that question, don't you think that's an adult answer that needs to be said? Hey, if you want to buy that car now because you need to get a car and you kind of go, do I want to get a Corolla or do I want to look a little good and get a, I don't know, something like a
Maserati.
Lexus IS? Hey, it's still a Toyota. It's gonna last long. I'm gonna look a little better. Yeah, but the payment's gonna be $400 to $500 versus the Corolla that's gonna be maybe $300.
Yeah.
And are you one of those guys or gals that can't handle an extra $200 that you got to pay a month?
You know what? This is the kind of talk that makes a housing bubble burst, boys.
Well, the point is, you're an adult. You need to make that decision. You have. And by the way, we're not talking about someone who works at the Circuit City in 1999. We're talking about people that are owning a sports franchise.
We didn't have Circuit City up here.
Oh, you missed out, man.
Oh man, it was very similar. It was the Blockbuster of electronics.
Yeah,
there was a smell in there.
There was fries.
There was a smell in there that you can't duplicate.
The smell of activating.
What did the
circuits and transistors?
What did Chrissy say in The Sopranos? It smelled like that candy carpet smell.
Yeah. I've been rewatching The Sopranos. It's great. So good.
Well, Circuit City had this metal, just this metal smell from all the appliances and all the electronics that you can't ever. And the commercials were iconic. If you go on
metal
Google,
cannot be good,
folks. We talk Lakers, we talk financial advice, and we talk
inhaling metal agents.
I will not be talking financial advice here, my friends. I will not be talking.
I'm putting more responsibility within that word. I'm not saying, hey, go invest in crypto or anything. What I'm saying is, I have a hard time feeling bad for wealthy owners making bad decisions for themselves. That's on them. If they don't want to make that decision, then they have the right to do so. But I don't like the fact that you have to have 700 different scenarios to get a simple trade going. I think that's kind of excessive in my book.
There's an interesting debate going on in the chat right now. Free Smoke and Alan are talking about is AD better defensively when he's playing the four. I think that 3 years ago that was the case because he had two elite. I love when the banner shows up. He had two elite. No, it's all good. He had two elite centers on the team in Howard and McGee, at least in terms of like boxing. Elite at boxing out, elite at like making AD better, right? And he also had a much, much, much more younger and spry LeBron James. LeBron James could not be accused of being young and spry any longer. If anything, he's the opposite on defense, especially. He's kind of earthbound on defense now. And so I'm not sure that logic holds true. I think it really depends on the center you bring in. And I don't look at Jonas Valanciunas as being a defensive center. He's more of an offensive center. He's more of a bucket getter. I'm not saying he's bad at defense, but he's not a great defender. Like when I think of great defensive centers, Jonas Valanciunas is nowhere near the top of my list. Let's put it that way. So, and I just haven't seen him play enough this year because he's no spring chicken. And Hayes is okay. I'm not saying Hayes is the next second coming of anybody, but like, wouldn't you rather not give up Max Christie and hope that Hayes can like get the job done with a bench of Hachimura and Finney-Smith and Milton and Dalton Connect, rather than give up Max Christie for how old is Valanciunas? 32, 33?
Around there, yep.
Let's find out, internet.
But the more
he's 32.
He'll
be 33 in May.
Yeah, I mean, he's aging out of the NBA quickly. That's my point. That's my only point. You're trading a young up and coming player for an old, going to be out of the league sooner than later player. This is where the Lakers are at. This is the problem with the LeBron James riddle, right? Don't nobody in the chat go saying we should trade LeBron James. LeBron James is going to retire a Laker. They will let him retire when he wants. They will pay him the most money they can pay him every year. And they don't care what anybody thinks about that. The Lakers are where superstars go to die. They're like the elephant graveyard of the NBA. It's just how it works. It works for the Lakers. It got them a title. And it's what they're going to do. Because when Giannis or Book or whoever is like 32, 33, and the Phoenix Suns are like, oh, we don't really want to pay you max, or whoever. We will. And we'll give you carte blanche. You get carte blanche. We'll roll out the red carpet. You get all the bells and whistles that come with being a Laker. You're going to play on all the nationally televised games. You'll definitely be playing on Christmas. So on and so forth. And superstars like that. They like feeling like they're important. They like making max money. They like feeling as if they are valued beyond lip service. And the Lakers do that. Whether anybody likes it or not is beyond the pale. They do it. That is how they function. And if you don't are having a hard time grasping that, I don't know what you've been watching for the last 40 years. It's going on 40 years. Like, this is how they roll. They did it with Kareem. They would have and tried to do it with Magic. They did it with Kobe. They would have done it with Shaq, and he just not gotten petty. It's just how they function. And so, I mean, I hear you, tough. So Hayes is too thin, but he's very athletic. And athletic, JaVale McGee proved that athletic can compete with big. And that's what I want Hayes to figure out. I want him to go watch footage of JaVale McGee, who was a nimble. Nobody would accuse JaVale McGee of being a bulky center. That guy could move, and he did it with foot positioning and timing and angles. And that's what Hayes has got to work on. If Hayes can work on that sort of thing, he can be a serviceable backup center for a long time. He's got a lot of athleticism. He's got a lot of speed. Those are not to be overlooked. And honestly, go ahead, Sean. Sorry.
Yeah. I was just gonna add, Jamie. I see. For some reason, I see Steven Adams' name on a lot of message boards for trades. I don't think the Rockets are interested in moving him. He is insurance if something happens to Şengün.
Yep. And I think he's a quality character locker room guy. I mean, everywhere Steven Adams goes, his teammates gush about Steven Adams.
Oh my God! I think the most hilarious story I ever heard about Steven Adams was when. Do you remember the Stash Brothers in OKC?
Yep.
Okay, so Steven Adams would wait at the loading dock and ask the dock manager what time the trucks come to deliver the food. So he would get there in the morning with his truck, and when he ate Enes Kanter's halal food, he just took it all. He's like. And Cantor went back to grab the food, and Adams is standing there, and they see him loading it into his truck. He's like, "Hey, mate, what can I tell you? It's mine."
I love Steven Adams.
I didn't know that story.
Steven Adams, before he blew out his Achilles, would have been a great pickup.
Yeah, I agree. I think.
Oh yeah, Joe. He got addicted to halal meat because it tastes.
No, it's
so
good. It's good. Yeah, again, and it's healthy for you too. It's going to Mediterranean food is Earth's first delicacy in that region, and of course everything was dates and meats and things like that, right? But the next step is gonna be the decider on whether this team is going to have a real shot at competing for a title. We as fans, I'm talking the NBA fan, went into this season assuming the season was going to be a certain way. And I think we're none of us right now are looking at it the same way as we looked at it in the summer. I didn't expect this much parity. I expected Denver to make a run, and they haven't yet. They could turn it around. They could turn it around, but I haven't seen it yet. Clippers are playing surprisingly better than I thought they would, and maybe I shouldn't have assumed that, considering you still have a viable player in James Harden, and the fact that he's the one. Harden always seems to do well when he's the one. Things seem to work out for him, right? And then we knew Houston was going to play well. We knew Oklahoma City was going to play well. Memphis was a coin toss in a way, but they're actually playing better than I thought they'd play. I thought maybe they'd be right around where we're at to kind of get back into the fold.
And it always makes me feel good about a trade when a guy who Memphis wanted and a guy who played for the Mavs gets traded to the Lakers, and everybody is like, how the hell did this happen?
I mean, the only thing I can think of is that because neither of those players are expiring, that Brooklyn was more interested in expiring contracts. I don't know who Memphis was offering.
And we do know this NBA GM executive thing, that relationship networking is important. And Sean Marks and Rob Pelinka are buds. Like, they're always at lunches together. You always hear about the two of them at GM meetings. And so, I mean,
he's got two buddies, Sean Marks and whoever's running it in Washington.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Like, he's got two networks. Yeah. One is in Brooklyn, one is down the road in DC.
Everybody else is like, oh, hold on, my dog's calling. Put him on hold.
So you asked the question, Jamie, about what Memphis was offering. Kashar, is it Kashar? Is it Kashar? John Kashar? Is that his name?
Oh, yeah.
John Conchar. Yeah,
Conchar. Yeah, I can never pronounce his name. So John Conchar was part of this deal with Luke Kennard and a first-round pick. That was the original deal that was rumored yesterday. Looking at that deal, Kennard is an expiring contract, and then John was not. I think he's got
2 more years left on his deal.
Yeah, he had 2 more years on his contract. I don't think that was the deal breaker. I think ultimately, they would have taken on that contract had they got a first. But I think Memphis backed out and said, no, we're not giving you a first. And then they said, you know what, we might as well go get the expiring contracts, because Maxwell Lewis has more years on his contract after this year, but they're team options. So
the team options. He can get. They're both gone. They're both
sayonara for Maxwell Lewis. You're going to be in Europe.
We'll never have to hear Gerald describe the substandard play of Maxwell Lewis.
My God, it never ended. It never ended.
Oh, wait, can somebody subscribe so we get that? Awesome
no one ever said Maxwell Lewis was going to be great.
No.
Okay.
But Maxwell Lewis is my litmus test for Bronny James, right? Like, I know, and not to bring Bronny James into this because we haven't talked about him in like 2 months, and that's been great. But like, they're both 55. They're both the 55th pick in the draft. Like, everybody got to chill out. Just chill out about the 55th pick in the second round. You know, it's like this.
And Jamie, guys in the 50s even know, like, I was taken in the 50s.
Right. Yeah. I got to put in work. I'm not a polished product. I am going to play in the G League, and that's how he came into the league. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Yeah. Rob,
I don't know about that, Quabina. I don't know about that yet.
He might not get fired this summer, depending on how we finish.
I think is that a sarcastic comment? I can't tell.
It's the sarcasm part on. Let's see, LeBron. Well, there's a lot here. Loaded. I don't know about loaded. We're exactly where we should be in the standings. We're going to vacillate between 8 and 5 for the next month and a half, 2 months.
You made this move because for 2 reasons, and Joe mentioned them, right? You guys did as well. It's the contract, and you added some wing depth here. You see what's going on with Phoenix and Golden State. That was like watching the Keystone Cops the other night. Phoenix couldn't score. make a field goal in 7 minutes, and Golden State just couldn't put them away. So you see what's going on with those two franchises. You see what's going on with Luka and Dallas. That's a serious injury. So Pelinka decided to make a move. And Joe, you had mentioned in one of the podcasts that you thought that if a move needed to be made, it needed to be made before January.
Yeah, I agree. You don't
They
wait.
have to take advantage of the schedule in January.
And
I didn't believe, I didn't believe that they would make a trade before January. I didn't think they would. I just didn't. But
Rob is loath to trade midseason. There was 3 years running where he did not make a single midseason trade. And it was one of my great joys in life was to watch the Gerald and Laker Tom last day of trade day episode that's like 14 hours long, and every
Gerald
trade
was out there for like 4 hours with like no activity.
Laker Tom would be every trade that the bing, there's a trade. Tom would be like, and it was. I mean, not to throw Tom under the bus, but it's just funny to watch because I'm like, dude, it's not going to be the Lakers. Like nobody wants Russell Westbrook. He's not expiring yet. Wait until he's an expiring contract.
Yeah, but you're right, Jamie. Between 4 and 12, there's a difference of I think 3.5 games.
Right.
So you could
None of those teams are out.
Yeah, you could go from 4th to 9th in a week.
Easily. A little losing streak by one team, a little winning streak by your team. You're right back into the play-in, coming up on a playoff spot. That there's just not a lot of, and that was how it was last season. Last season, I think it came down to the last game or two of the season for all of the play-in spots to be kind of sorted out and who made it and who didn't, and even who was going to be 7th and 6th, if I recall, and maybe even 7th, 6th, and 5th. Like there was just a half game between all of those teams, and it was like you said, there's a lot of parity in the West, and there's a lot of non-parity in the East this season. So it's not surprising that more talent is being shipped west. It'll be interesting to see how D'Lo does. I want to just take a moment and I'd like to appreciate what D'Angelo Russell brought to the Lakers. He definitely helped us turn around Darvin Ham's rookie head coaching season when he was included in the Russell Westbrook trade. And he's grown up. He's been a quality player. And so, D'Lo, best of luck to you. Have great games, except when you play the Lakers.
And ideally, if everybody's playing their role on this team, like right now, like with everybody, my def lineup would be Austin Reeves, Dalton Connect, LeBron James, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Anthony Davis. It's a lot of size out there. That's speed. You have a mixture of defense and offense. I like the fact now, Jamie, that if you have Max Christie and DFS out there on the floor with AD, you actually can cut off like a lot of the floor, and you're not allowing a lot of teams to try and trap you into a zone because Finney-Smith can get around picks and blocks pretty quickly given his frame.
If Vanderbilt comes back, you can add him to that second lineup of that all defense lineup. Puts a lot of pressure on AD to score potentially, but
I have a question for both of you and obviously the audience. You brought up Laker Tom and his trade wizardry.
It's not wizardry.
Okay, I'm gonna throw this out to you guys.
It's Joe. It's Tom foolery.
He's addicted to that NBA trade machine, is what it is.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily do this, but I'd do this.
Legalize it.
Here's my question, and you guys are going to be playing GM.
Oh, I'm bad at that.
Let's say Indiana, who doesn't like the Lakers, by the way, calls up Rob and says, "All right, guys, what do you want for Miles Turner?"
We talked about this yesterday. He's my first trade option for a center. I don't think it's going to happen. Kurt, you always got the jokes, man. You always got the jokes. I don't think with D'Lo gone, I don't know that you would have to trade Hachimura. I think that ostensibly makes the team weaker. I think Hachimura is a little bit more versatile for this team than Miles Turner would be. That's my opinion. I don't know. What do you think, Sean? Let me look at Miles Turner.
Well, no, I agree with you. And I just wanted to say another swing and a miss for Buha. He's never gotten a single report right about at least Trudell calls himself Laker reporter, even though McTen and Shams report on everything Lakers except Mike Trudell. At least he got his reports mostly correct. Remember Buha? Yeah, I'm not hearing a lot about the Lakers. It's all quiet on the Lakers front. Look, man, Rob isn't that. Rob is a very cunning. I'll use that word, cunning. He's not stealth, though. You don't. The things just don't happen quietly from the offices of the Los Angeles Lakers. People talk in the league.
Not recently, though. Not recently. I feel like the leaky ship that was the Magic Johnson Laker front office they've plugged some holes in the dike. You know, Rob's got his little boots on, his little Dutch clogs, and he's got his fingers in the dike, and he's keeping it quieter. You don't hear as much. I mean, I'm not saying you hear nothing, but you don't hear as much that's substantial. I was just looking at the roster salary between the Lakers and the Pacers. So Miles Turner makes $19.9 million, which is just, I think, a shade above what we could send out cash, I suppose. Rui makes 17 straight. So I think you'd have to include legendary trade filler Jalen Hood-Schifino in any deal. And I think that maybe even pushes it a little. I'd have to put it in the trade machine to see if that works. I think the money is going to be difficult to work out. So we'd either have to send out cash or bring in cash to make the money work. It is possible. I just have a hard time seeing Indiana. You know, Indiana, for all their woes, they're only 2 games out of the playoffs. They're in the play-in. So it's not like they're tanking. They haven't played great, but cool. Good to see.
Yeah, that's a lot of versatility you're adding there.
That we just brought in. That's interesting. I feel like any trade for Miles Turner would have to come with first round compensation. And I gotta say, I mean, I know that we were talking about, is this a now problem or a later problem earlier, as Sean was putting it. I think it's the only problem. The only problem the Lakers have to address every season is what happens if LeBron breaks down. Like, for real. Like, something happens. Blows an Achilles, tears a shoulder, yada, yada, yada. So, with that in mind, you have to keep 2 draft picks. I don't think Rob's playing with every bullet in the gun. I've been saying this all year long. I don't think Jeannie I don't think she's like, you get carte blanche. I think she's like, you keep 2 draft picks because there is a world where we don't have LeBron James on the team. Or Rob is telling Jeannie that somebody's got the maturity and the wherewithal to imagine a Laker team without LeBron James. I'm hoping here. I'm not going to say that for sure because, as I said before, we are where superstars go to die. I don't know. I like the fit of Miles Turner is great. He can play inside, outside on defense. He's certainly a great shot blocker and rim protector, which would allow AD to be the free roamer on defense. The 2 of them can handle Jokic. I don't know if this is optimistic, Alan. I don't know if this is optimistic. It's for real, baby. I don't know. I like the fit of Miles Turner. I don't see Indy making that move because, as Joe said, they hate the Lakers.
And that's the issue with Indy. It's always been the issue on why they couldn't acquire
Paul George.
Yes.
Paul George. The thing with Paul George is he was traded out of Indiana.
Right.
And we assumed that he wanted to be a Laker. And that's what happens when you ass you me. We have to revert back to what Kobe used to say.
I'm from the coast. I can make it in the plains.
You wanted to play with Russell Westbrook in
Home,
Oklahoma
home
City.
on the range where the
What
deer, the antelope play.
I'm still trying to figure out what was the process there?
Yeah.
He had an open slot. Imagine Paul George,
I know.
LeBron,
I
and
know.
AD on the team. Paul George would have stacked at least 2 championships.
Yep.
And he would have been
At least one.
He would have been loved like Teoscar Hernandez in LA. That's how much they would have loved him here. So who advised him? Somebody screwed him up. There's no way he's that
I think
dumb.
it was Kawhi Leonard. And
Kawhi Leonard's another one. That dumbass wanted to have his own team and all this bullshit. And I'm going like, dude, I get it, but you knew you were going to have to be managed.
Yeah.
What better way to be managed than having 2 stars pick up the slack, and then you pick up the slack for the other stars? They would have probably three-peated with that guy. Just whatever. Anyways, the thing with Turner, he's an expiring contract. There is no doubt in my book that he's getting traded. It's a matter of where. I just don't see them losing him for nothing. I'm sorry, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I don't know.
Somebody needs him. Somebody will need him.
I think Indy needs him. They're the play-in. Like, they're not going to tank the season unless something happens. Like, if Halliburton gets hurt, okay, maybe they trade him then. Look at something like, okay, this season's a wash. Let's get something for Miles. But they'd have to bring back size because, they're not too big after him. I guess they got that rookie center. I don't know. It's an interesting conundrum.
The problem is the young teams in the West that are competitive right now don't need a center like him. And the veteran teams in the West that need a center like him can't really use the maneuvers in the exactly. You can't use.
Honestly, if I were Golden State, I would try to swap Draymond for Miles every minute of every single day.
By the way, Jamie, did you happen to see Draymond double suplex Dalton Connect and Rui Hachimura?
We talked about that yesterday as well, and I still to this day don't understand how that wasn't called a flagrant foul, at least in review by the league after the fact. Like,
yes,
if one of those guys had their shoulder dislocated as a result of that play, like, the entire conversation about Christmas Day changes, right? It goes from look at those plucky Lakers to what the F is wrong with Draymond Green again.
Right. And that bald dickhead Richard Jefferson laughing about it, you dickhead.
Well, the slow motion replay where he's like, well, they're not allowed to lock arms, and they didn't lock arms. It's like, no, Richard Jefferson, you're Laker hater.
Mike Reed say, the Lakers players onus is on them just as much. Is it Draymond? What?
He goes like this. Ah!
I want this to happen. I want this to happen because I want to see what the results would be. I'd like him to do that act to Isaiah Stewart.
Oh, that would be awesome. That would result in a true WWE.
Isaiah Stewart is a very unhinged player. He's my kind of player. I like those kind of guys. I guarantee you that motherfucker wouldn't do that to him because he knows.
How are you going to make Gerald do post-production work?
Because it's important to know that someone needs to take one for the league, the team, every one of us. Someone needs to pop that bitch in the face.
You want him to
square in the nose. In the nose, not here, not like this. I'm talking like drinking blood.
You're talking knuckle sandwich right to the center.
I'm talking about faucet. In high school, one of the guys that I knew both these guys. I knew them both. And the one that got punched probably didn't deserve this, but he had a tendency to have a little bit of arrogance. And the guy that punched him had a fist the size of a head. It was like the worst guy to piss off.
Oh, like a ham? Like a ham? Look how it looks like it's the size of my head. That's how big he was. This kid was, a junior in high school.
Yeah,
so when he unloaded, all you saw was This and a faucet coming out. Because I think when he got punched, he was in such disbelief. He just didn't know what was going on. All you just see is blood just gushing. That is what needs to happen to Draymond Green. And I guarantee you, if someone takes the hit on that, so to speak, or throws the hit, he'll stop doing that.
Yeah, I don't think he will. He's crazy.
He's not crazy. He's not.
Alan,
He is a little bit crazy. He's a little bit more of a bitch than KG was. KG liked to pick on the little guys. That's what Draymond does. He goes after the guys that he knows aren't going to fight back.
Yeah.
He kicks them in the nuts like a bitch. The guy needs to get punched in the face in front of the whole world and get embarrassed. It's not going to be about the physicality of it. It's that he's going to look like a bitch, and that's going to bother him.
Anyway,
but he'll learn his lesson.
I don't think it's going to stop him.
He blindsided Steven Adams. That's the only way he got away with that one. He blindsided Adams.
Yeah. Real quick, Alan had a question about why we aren't trading for, I think, Walker Kessler. He said, why aren't we trading for Utah centers?
2 words.
I think because Danny Ainge is asking for 8,231 draft picks. And we don't have 8,231 first-round draft picks to trade. So the asking price for anything on Utah is just way too high. Danny Ainge is crazy. He's trying to break trades, and nobody should trade with Utah. Those are my thoughts. Rudy didn't even fight back after being choked. Yeah, but Rudy's a
because we all well here's the thing, Jamie. Joe put it quite eloquently and succinctly when he said our perceptions about what's transpired so far were different in the summer, because we all thought that if there's one team that could use a player like Lauri Markkanen, it'd be OKC, right?
Yeah.
But instead they got an equally effective player in Isaiah Hartenstein.
Better player. I think Hartenstein is better than Markkanen.
I think he does a lot of the little things better than Lauri does. I wouldn't call him a better scorer. But yeah, just about every other category, I would say Isaiah Hartenstein.
Hartenstein affects winning more than Markkanen does. Markkanen, for all his scoring, isn't 100%. Leading Utah to any kind of decent record. And so that's always sort of my measuring stick. Like, oh, this guy scores 5 more points a game than you do, but he's also 5 games ahead of you in the standings. I like that guy better than I like flashy scorer guy.
And again, it goes back a lot to development too, because the Chicago Bulls drafted him and could do nothing with him.
Isabel, that's not happening. Kessler for Jalen Hood-Schifino and a first-round pick and another with protections lifted? Nah. Danny Ainge wants 4.
Yeah.
He wants 4 picks for any player that you want on his roster, other than maybe the ball boy. And even that guy's 2 picks. So it's just forget anybody on Utah. Just forget about it. The price is just going to be too high.
Jamie, we'll see. I mean, Utah could go nuclear and end up with Cooper Flagg.
But they can't end up with Cooper Flagg because of the lottery, and that's the thing, right? And that's why Ainge wants I'm not saying he's dumb. He's smart. He wants the ability to have quality over quantity. Quantity over quality. I'm tempted.
Yeah. Well, here's another thing. This is what bothers me. You restricted the ability of let's just say wealthy or well-off franchises there to be inhibited from making trades that would benefit themselves and the league. But however, you're going to allow teams like Utah, New Orleans, Washington to consistently end up with number 1 picks that you don't develop, you don't grow.
Yeah.
And you're constant. You see, I think if you finish with the 3rd worst record in the NBA for 3 straight years, I think you should be out of the lottery. Because there should be a punitive punishment for teams that continue to be abysmal.
Yeah.
Don't accumulate great, and all they do at the top end of that talent is trade them when value is absolutely at its highest.
Isabel Roxana wants to know if we would want Vukovic. I think for the price, you'd have to give up again. Like if you're giving up Rui Hachimura, and that's the only way to make the money work at this point. Rui
Not
Hachimura
for a first. Let's see.
Player for player, yeah.
Working with
It's two, though. You have to do two.
Reinsdorf and
Yes.
Danny Ainge is like what I would imagine being married to a horrible person. Luckily, I'm not married.
Yeah,
to a horrible
I don't
person.
know how that would work, but I know people who've gone through that, and that's
And I'm using that as an analogy or as a comparison because it's imagine having to come home and let's use Danny Ainge as the springboard here. I'll get to Reinsdorf in a second here. Imagine coming to work or home every day and having Danny Ainge always needing something.
like this.
And then you and all you think about is Robert Horry and a towel. That's all you think about, right? Then Reinsdorf might be actually worse. Reinsdorf tried to convince the world that winning championships with Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, and Phil Jackson was gonna have a cap, and they're gonna rebuild. And they're going to go on and maybe continue in a few years after they rebuild. The Bulls are still rebuilding, by the way.
They're not rebuilding, Joe. They're still in the wilderness.
Yeah, that's a good one. So Reinsdorf continues to make hand over fist. Even how many years now? 24 years later.
Something like
26
that.
years later.
26, 98,
Right.
26.
He's still making money off those guys, and he doesn't have to worry about the ego and the headaches. That's probably played a factor in why he kind of got tired of Michael. And oh my God, okay, we get it. You guys don't like Jerry Krause. Okay, we get it. Can you stop yelling at this fat guy in a bus? You look like an idiot.
Man, what they did to his wife last year was just
What they did to his wife,
disgraceful.
right? So. Isabel, to make to answer your question, by the way, welcome. It's the first time I've seen Isabel on the show, and we're seeing some people from the Philippines as well. Welcome, everyone. Usually our Filipino head of state is usually here, Gerald Glassford. He is married to a very fine, beautiful, nice Filipino woman, and he does speak the language every now and then. He would have been able to say hello and goodbye, I guess, but he's not here right now because apparently he might be sleeping.
He is sleeping.
Okay, so
there's no doubt in my mind. He is 100% sleeping right now.
Good man.
Okay, so
when the Dan Hurley news broke and me and Joe were discussing it, I was jet setting home. We were still waiting for Gerald to wake up.
I think that's probably why he prefers the evening time.
He's a night owl like myself.
So do
I'm a night owl too,
so do vampires.
But yeah, but when you get to the 40s, you have to get up in the morning too to do shit. No one does what we do. But anyways, so again, welcome everyone. I've seen a lot of new faces. Please like and subscribe. Our show is not marketed
like this
to the clickbaits. We're marketing to those who discover us and actually like the show.
Joe, look down at your console. Do you see the thing that says react?
Yes.
Click on it. Enjoy.
That one, right? That's
Some of them go on for a little too long.
Don't use this.
I don't know. I found it yesterday and I had fun with it. And then I saw you like, how are you doing this? I was like, it's
done. Thank you. But this looks new. I don't remember it being on there, but I'll let's. Yes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. Kurt Affair. Is Kurt Affair just dogging on me right now? In 5 minutes, and Joe will tie the story. What? Hey, man. What, don't you want to learn while you get entertained? Isn't that kind of how it's supposed to work?
Not about the Steelers.
the Steelers are exactly who we thought they were.
In Pittsburgh?
And they weren't able to let themselves off the hook the last 2
Because they're in
weeks.
Pittsburgh?
We got 80 in the house. That's great. Let's get up to 100.
Yeah, man.
Again,
More the
guys, please
merrier.
like and subscribe. There's a lot of new faces I like. The questions that you've asked, even the newbies. This is exactly why you're here. Don't listen to Kurt Affair. Kurt Affair likes to
No,
talk
listen to
smack.
Kurt. Kurt's got jokes, man.
No,
This
no.
was
He
like-
likes to
this was
put
like-
people down.
No,
and
no.
my
This is-
feelings are hurt. Okay, my
this is-
feelings are
this
hurt.
is-
Whatever. You don't
this is
have
a-
feelings.
This is a good day to be a Lakers fan. It's a day after a win.
So let's not-
We-
let's not-
We swept the Queens, which is great. I've been waiting to see the Lakers finally sweep a divisional opponent. They finally did it. And this is like a shake and bake trade.
Shake it back.
Yeah, it's like 30% off shake and bake. You get Shake Milton and DFS for D'Angelo Russell.
Man, it's a really good deal. I mean, we'll see how it works out on the court. In my mind, it works great on paper. So I hear you on not pulling the plug on Max Christie. I think if anybody's starting spot is in jeopardy, it's probably Rui's, but it might be Max's. I mean, if I know my Laker head coaches and my Laker culture, which I think I do, they're going to give the guys who make the most money the chance to start, right? It's over there. I should have never showed you that button.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I had to do
No,
that
it's all
because
good.
Kurt had a funny comment too.
No, they're fun. They're
Well,
fun.
DFS is DFS is pretty close in salary to Rui. Like
That's what I'm saying. So like you bump Max to the bench eventually. You start DFS at the 2, right? I mean, not maybe game 1, but maybe it is game 1. And that helps.
I think shifting Max to the bench is easier with a guy like Shake Milton rather than Gabe Vincent, because now he's got a combo guard who can get his own shot and is a decent secondary playmaker.
I can't have Gabe Vincent on the team for much longer. He drives me mad.
I think that's why you got Shake Milton.
Yes, I agree. And that getting that when you look at the money, it all makes sense. And they're choose to torpedo another second round draft pick to waive Cam or Wood, to trade him to like Detroit or whoever. And then you open up a roster spot. You got, what did we say? $5 million in cap space, $3.5 million, something like that.
3.5. Yeah.
That's a vet minimum deal. You can bring in any number of guys who are sitting out there going, waiting for that phone to ring. And so from that standpoint, when Cam, I like Cam Reddish a lot. I think he's actually earned like a small extension with us next year. Having said that, I think there's probably better players out there who aren't on a team right now that we could use. I don't know if I would take Pat Bev over Cam Reddish. I think I'd stick with Cam, to be honest. But like a player like Pat Bev, we still lack a point guard who can defend. I mean, it would be nice to have a point guard that can defend. Yes, Kurt, I do. I do think that Austin's performance, not just last night, but over the last 2 weeks, made it very easy to trade D'Angelo Russell. I think that he proved that he can run a team from the one. And that's it. I think that was the worry. That was the worry was, can he run a team? Can he be the main ball handler on a team with LeBron James and AD and not get lost in the shuffle? And he did get lost in the shuffle. So I think it made it really easy to trade D'Lo. I mean, the other thing is, like, if D'Lo walks, the Lakers are going to lose like $5 or $6 million in potential cap space. And so that's the other that was for me. You either are going to give him an extension in season when you can. They didn't. Or you're planning on trading him, because you can't let him walk, because then you lose money. Not real money. It's all NBA imaginary money, but you lose the ability to like sign somebody into that money, is really how I should say that. So
Yay!
that's just, that's just the reality of the NBA.
Hey, LeBald, don't diddle us here, buddy.
Who? What?
We eliminate diddlies here.
Oh,
Yeah, we do.
The
We
bald name.
eliminate the Labalds and the Diddlers.
You know
That's-
what? That name though is the second most unimaginative name I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of
Labald.
funny. Labald lames. I mean, I think it's
Really?
simple, but yet kind of hilarious.
I mean, if you're like a toddler,
True,
but
true, but I mean, sometimes the kids, they say funny things, right? And you kind of, hey, you're.
It's all right to have an 8-year-old
You know what I
sense of
mean?
humor when you're 46.
And we're some of the guys on the show, not me, obviously, but some of the guys miss Cool Bro a little bit.
I like Cool Bro. Cool Bro.
I don't like children on an adult show. I'm sorry, it's just kind of my thing. I don't like children in general, except mine.
When he got
You all
into
know
it,
that.
when he got into his talk about his AI girlfriend, that was pretty weird shit.
Yeah, that's not good. Sorry,
Yeah,
Jamie,
yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
I don't want to be involved. See, and that's how it starts, folks.
And honestly, is there anything more cowardly than somebody using their fake name to like make fun of people? I'm like, come on, man. What
Yeah,
are you,
that's
just a coward on planet Earth. At least use your real name. At least show your cojones. At least be a person.
Yeah, but look what Henry just did. See what it
I
spawned?
know.
The Hurt Affair. See, Kurt Affair started something, and then now everybody's calling these imaginative names that are actually kind of funny.
Is that Henry Hill? Henry Hill, are you on the show right now?
Yeah, he is.
Oh no, he died, didn't he? The real Henry Hill.
The real Henry Hill, yeah.
Oh well. Or did he? Or did he die?
Well, our Henry Hill is a real Henry Hill.
Yeah, he's a real Henry Hill.
Is he?
And he's not a doped up piece of crap either.
Right.
Well, again, so for those in the Philippines, anybody else outside the United States, just put a chat room post and let us know where you're at, so we can give you some congratulatory hellos.
Who's the president of the Digo fan club?
If you've just tuned in,
John Costa.
What about John?
He's the president of the D-Lo fan club.
I don't think that. I think that ended about a month ago.
Good man.
Yeah, I think that was over. When I saw D'Lo bricking
Oh,
wide open shots the first few weeks, I was done with
God, I don't know how we'll contend with your wit, LeBald. It's just
grown men so soft like toilet paper. Well, here's the thing, LeBald. I have a bidet, so you're already wrong on that case. Toilet paper is so 2019, guys. Come on. We talk about the environment, right? Hey, I care, guys. I care.
Yeah, he puts in fake grass in people's homes.
I really care. Think about it for a second. I help preserve water. I help preserve all that Monsito stuff that people put in their grass, right? You all know what that is, right? Maybe? Or do I need a history lesson on that, Sean? So, again, we're sitting here talking about...
What do you say, Joe?
About what?
Exactly.
Good. I'm glad you were paying attention. So here, let me post this. This is something we haven't talked about in the last hour and change. What about the second guy in this deal, Mr. Sheikh Milton?
Mm-hmm.
Are we expecting something from Sheikh? From my limited knowledge of Sheikh, apparently he doesn't play very good defense. That's not good if you're playing guard for the Lakers. Can he score? I think he had a double-double the other day, like 18 points, 13 assists, something like that. So what exactly are we expecting from Mr. Sheikh, and will he be valuable in certain games?
Yes, to answer the second question, I would say it's somewhere in the I would kind of put this trade into the same vein as I would when the Lakers got Lonnie Walker the fourth, Joe.
Really?
I think Sheikh Milton is capable of brilliant performances. He's capable of 28, 12, and 5, or 32, 6, and 10. However, he's also capable of 2 or 3 games where he scores 5 or less points. But those games where he can put up 20, 25, 30, he's capable. So I actually like this trade with him coming off the bench because he's not going to start. So if you coming off the bench, right? If defense isn't your forte, that's okay. Are you a really good offensive rebounder?
No, he's not.
No.
No.
I'm
It's a
expressing
philosophical
that.
question.
Yeah. Are you a good offensive rebounder? Are you a great pick and roll screen setter? Are you great at diving? Like there are different things you can contribute off the bench, like two or three different tools. Defense doesn't necessarily have to be one of them. I think if you had Shake Milton, Gabe Vincent, Dalton Connect, and Rui off the bench, I think that's a pretty decent bench, Joe.
I do too.
Well, so I'm going to assume, is it Adar SL? He is mentioned after Schroeder trade was asked Shake to create plays, and that's why he struggled for some time, then slowly improved. So I'm assuming, Adar, you're a Brooklyn Nets fan. Thank you for that information and welcome to the show. There's
guys, I got to take off. Actually, sorry.
Good. Thanks for being here, Jamie. We'll see you on the next one.
Yep.
Have a great Sunday.
Go Lakers.
Thank you.
Go
Thanks.
Lakers.
Obviously this was more I think he was a throw-in to make things match, right? But you do have some depth at the guard, which I don't think you can have enough depth at this point in the league. And he can score, whether he can play defense and be a consistent player. I don't think that's ultimately what the Lakers got him for. We have to figure out as a fan base if between now and the trade deadline, if this is going to be the defining move. Is this what will maybe give them a little bit of a boost, enough of a boost to hope for some luck to get to where they want to go? The short answer to that is no. But it could happen, but I don't know. Just don't know. I don't know where this can go. I just know that getting rid of D'Angelo Russell was a must. I think there was a lot of emotional drain with him. If we were feeling it, the team definitely felt it. So from that standpoint, regardless of what happens the rest of the season, this was the smart move. They got a player that actually does have some benefits, although I don't think he was that good, but they didn't have to give up a lot, which was great. And
I agree 100%, Joe.
You could, Adar. Honestly, I don't know why he could not continue what he had going in the second half of last year. He broke the Lakers 3-point make record, and a lot of it was after January. I don't know I don't know what the deal is with D'Lo. I don't know where his focus is. Maybe the focus of the pressure gets to him. Maybe he doesn't want to be bothered. Maybe he just wants to go to Brooklyn now and just play and try to get another contract and just play and just not have to worry about the pressures of trying to win, to be around LeBron James, to be around kind of the Laker fandom. I don't know. Whatever it is, this is the second time the Lakers have traded D'Angelo Russell to Brooklyn. I think this might be the last one. So good luck to him. Thanks for what you've done, and thanks for a little bit of nothing too. Gentlemen, including Kurt, what is the letter grade you would give this trade? I'm preparing barbecue meat and I missed it. Sean, you gave it a B+. I think that's a pretty good grade. But you gave that to Rob.
Yeah, I give to
Is it
Rob.
the same grade as in terms of the actual trade?
Sure, I'd get maybe somewhere in the middle, like a B.
Okay.
B,
yeah, I think
B
it's a good grade. Again, it got rid of something that was really gnawing on this team, which was the inability to stay consistent.
Well, I will give him a B+ because he he was able to make it kind of like a Moneyball deal where he was able to increase his flexibility. That
Well, that part too.
that
You went from 30,000 to 3.5 million on that deal. Even if they got players that weren't going to play, let's say they were going to let them go and open up some roster spots. Actually, that still would have been a good deal. Probably would have been a B- deal, maybe even a B.
Plus, Milton's deals are non-guaranteed after this year, so
Right.
more money that he can use if necessary. That being said, yeah, give it a B plus.
B plus it is, Henry. And again, whatever kind of barbecue meat you're making there, Henry, let me know if it's something good. I might be coming to LA either tomorrow or sometime this week.
So, Joe, there are 4 different big pockets of barbecue in the United States. Okay, there's the Carolinas, there's Missouri, there's Texas, and then there's a little Southwest. So, what sauce do you prefer? Do you like a sweet and sour like from the Carolinas? Do you like a mesquite from like Missouri, or do you like the Texas barbecue, brother?
The problem with barbecue, much like Mexican food, is there's a commercial entity to most of the places we eat. And when things go too commercial, you lose, I guess, the uniqueness of that particular taste. There, when businesses, when restaurants become too big, too franchised, they have to start thinking about more numbers than the actual taste of the food. Now, there's been a few out there that have kind of defied that. In-N-Out Burger is one.
Los
Some would-
Polos Hermanos would be another one.
Some would say Chick-fil-A is another. Because if I say, hey, I love Lucille's barbecue, I love their little sweet and original sauce. What is the original sauce? I don't know. They have a St. Louis sauce, but I like the original one. What's the original? I don't know. I never read the recipe. I just like that one. There's a Phil's barbecue next to Lucille's in the same complex. I don't like Phil's barbecue sauce. I like Lucille's, but Phil's is more popular for some reason. I don't know if it's marketing or whatever. So I don't think I can make that assessment. I mean, I guess no one is wrong. It depends on your taste buds, but I know that there's probably some Texan out there. If I say, "Oh, I really like Lucille's," they'd be like, "Dude, you don't know what barbecue is." However, Foster Farms. This was way back in the day. Foster Farms used to have a standalone restaurant. A lot of people don't know this or remember, or were too young, or weren't born yet. My sister and I still cannot find that sauce. We tried to look at Foster Farms. Like every time I call Foster Farms, I said, "You guys used to make this sauce." And of course, anytime you call anybody these days, no one knows shit. No one knows who they are. No one knows their name. They used to make a barbecue sauce that I would take to any Texan, anyone in Missouri, anyone on the planet, and said, "I don't give a shit how good you guys are. This is the greatest sauce that was ever made." And
what was it called?
It was just a barbecue. It was I'm a breast guy, and that's what I would order. I'm talking about chicken here, not other things. They had the best.
No, I like a good rack.
Yes, very, very well. Very good segue there, Sean. Joe has Armenian homies. I'm sure he's tried their barbecue. Yes, of course. I grew up with a very crazy Armenian. He's my best friend from Sonstan. That's a good one too. If Sheikh no good, what about Olivari?
We're getting buried on the bench here.
I I don't think Olivari or Shake will shake up the lineup too much.
He was dressed last night and didn't play.
I think we're hoping for Olivari to be something, but I just don't see it's not there. It's not there, and I don't think Shake is going to be that guy either. I think he'll have his moments, but this was a deal to get DFS and to get rid of D'Angelo Russell, as well as open up some money on in the below that second apron. That's it. Terrence, there's a reason why no one's picking up Fultz, and it's the same reason why I didn't like Fultz after his second season. He has major mental blockage somewhere with basketball, and I can't. This team cannot afford someone with mental blockage. It reminds me a lot of Kwame Brown and those types, the guys that had so much pressure and so much hype, and they came crashing bad, and they never really recovered. Oh yeah, and Fultz can't shoot. That's it. Yeah, Bloodhound. There you go. Fultz can't shoot. If you can't shoot in today's NBA, you might as well just go do something else for a living. Let's see here. I think we are sleeping on Shake. Welcome, Graham. I think this is the first time I've seen you. Please like and subscribe. I think we are sleeping on Shake. He is a scorer and a good one at that. I don't know enough. All I know is he's inconsistent. That's it. But you could say that about half the league. Will he play better with LeBron? Would he play better with AD? It's been known to happen. If the comp, according to Sean Grice, is maybe Lonnie Walker, I'll take that. Lonnie Walker won the Lakers a playoff game one year.
Milton can do the same thing.
If he does the same thing, then that becomes just that one game. If he can produce something like that, then we're in good shape. Terrence Harvey, would 2 first-round picks be too much for Kessler? Yes, way too much. Unless they were protected in the top 20. Which I think, Sean, I don't remember which one it was. There's one of those picks, from what I heard, I don't know if it's true, that they can't put a protection on. Is that true? I got to find that out. I keep asking that question on the show, but I can't find that information. Unfortunately, that's the reason.
I haven't found a conclusive answer.
Okay,
to
let's say there
question.
isn't a stipulation that says you can't put a protective entity on that pick. If Danny Ainge says, I want 2 first-round picks for Kessler right now, and whatever trash you have that you want to get rid of to match contracts. Top 20, yes. I do it in a heartbeat. Because Kessler is better than Valanciunas. And he would help. He would help, and it would make things very interesting going into the playoffs. But
Hey,
and I don't think Kessler's going to get two first-round picks. Is he going to get? Okay, Sean, what team out there is going to get Kessler? Is it going to be Orlando? You think Orlando would throw, let's say, 2 first-round picks that are lottery protected? No, they won't. So what is the next best deal? 1 first-round pick? Okay, so 1 first-round pick, and if Danny Ainge says top 8 protected, would you do that deal? Ooh, you better win the title then. You better win the title. They're going to have to. They're going to have to. There is no other way that you can get that kind of player for that limited amount of assets. And that's gonna go to the end, by the way. This is not going to be a deal likely done in the middle.
But I'd rather pick up somebody like Nick Richards. He's a double. He can pick up double doubles too. JHS. Something else. And
Sean, that deal again. I'm talking to Sean Nabo. Sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. I don't think
Well, just instead of saying Nebo, Nabo.
I'm just gonna say Sean. I don't know.
I'm Sean.
He's Sean too. Don't be greedy. God, that's one that I can't put my finger on right now. Let me think about that one real quick. Let me look at Utah's setup here. So Sexton's contract runs out in 2026, and then they have Kessler that's making hardly anything. Danny will want 2 firsts for that.
I honestly think it's going to be a deal with an Eastern Conference team anyway.
Yeah. Well, David, I had talked about a deal with Atlanta a few weeks back. I thought and Sean made a good point about usually teams that are kind of unloading players, it's always a swap to the other conference because they don't want to help anybody in their conference. So looking at Atlanta is.
And by the way, you know who started that?
Who? Was
Joe?
it the Clippers?
No. Al Davis. Al Davis would trade a player if he didn't have to play him on the schedule that season or the following season.
Well, looking at Atlanta's setup, Atlanta is competing. I don't know necessarily if they're looking to dump salary more than just kind of improve their team. Right now,
unless they really just want to give Okongwu the job and just live with the results. But yeah, like they're trying. I don't know what they're trying to do, but they always seem to be in the play-in mix.
Right now, they're only a game and a half back of the 4th seed.
Well, the East is so.
Do they want if they're going to trade, let's say Clint Capella?
Are they want some in return?
They're going to want somebody in return that has talent. So if there was a deal to be made with Atlanta, I think there would need to be a third team involved so that they can get something back for him that can help them win.
And by the way, they probably want to unload DeAndre Hunter too, who's a ghost for them.
He's making too much money. You'd have to give
some. I don't want him. I'm just saying that their priorities are to trade Hunter first.
Sam, the reason why Utah's unloading is because they want Cooper flag and as much draft capital so that Danny Ainge can draft the players he wants.
And they also pretty much drafted Kessler's replacement, Kyle Filipowski. Mm-hmm. And his 27-year-old fiance.
Guys, don't ever let that stuff happen to you, man. Those things can destroy you. Be careful. So what else we got here, Sean? Are the Lakers going to stand pat here until the end, or is there something going to happen in January?
I got a feeling something's going to happen between now and the All-Star break, Joe. Okay. I don't think it'll be a major. It could be. I mean, it's unlikely, but it's either you need that scorer, or you need that backup center. So you're gonna have to make a decision and try and get the other one, or aggregate it in the buyout market.
Okay. I don't know if there's one more deal left or 2 more. Would you say 1 more or 2 more?
Probably, I'd say at least 1.
Rob has more of a history of doing more than 1 during these times, or nothing. And I don't know.
Then it'd likely be 2 more than 1.
I don't know is it just shuffling at that point, or are they? I have no feeling or no idea how they're going to get that player that we sit and. Oh, that might be it. There's no one. LaMelo, Fox, I just don't see any of those kind of players coming to LA. And that's been some of the talk the last few days with what's been going on in Sacramento, and obviously with rumors having Melo possibly going to San Antonio. You had mentioned that that's not usually San Antonio's MO. And is LaMelo the kind of player that San Antonio wants? LaMelo might not be a problem. See any Charlotte like that, but is his game going to mesh with the San Antonio philosophy and also Victor Wembanyama's game? I would say yes. Anytime you can get a guy that can drop 30 points at the guard position, and you have the best center in the league at this, yeah, I'd say you probably do have something there, and he can probably learn something. I haven't heard anything from his pops being a distraction, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. But where I do know for sure where he would flourish is LA. His game would go perfect immediately wrong. Because the second those guys sit, you let Melo cook, and you will never have to worry about a lead. If you've got a good lead and you have Melo in there doing his thing, that's where that becomes a huge asset. Even with the volume shooting, it's because the threat sometimes is enough teams from making too many chances. Because if you do leave him open, he's going to make the shot. If you allow him to run around, did you see the play the other night where he did a Nash? Nash would pass in that scenario. He did a little a trip around the basket. I thought that was probably the funniest play I'd seen in a while. Yeah, it's things got interesting today, and I think the first step was to get rid of some dead weight, and they did. And I'm happy with the trade just based off that. Roy said, "Joe, does this trade move the needle or be cancer or both?" No cancer at all. It doesn't. It moves the needle in terms of, I think, the morale for sure. And DFS has some talent. I'm not going to throw him out too much, but I don't also think he's going to be a game changer that much. But when I saw D'Angelo Russell's name in that deal, initially when I got the alert, I said, okay. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't a first, and of course it wasn't. It was 3 seconds, which I said, okay, good. That will work. They didn't really give up much. The Lakers have, I believe, 2 more second-round picks, Sean? Or is it 3 more?
Pardon me?
We'll have to check on that. I think there might be 3, but for sure there's 2 left in terms of second-round picks that they can trade.
You can trade as many second-round picks as you want.
I didn't know that. I guess I should probably read up on that a little bit more. Paul, we need a point of attack athletic guard right now. Paul, those guys are hard to get.
They don't grow on trees. Yeah, they don't grow on trees.
Those guys also make $40 million a year. 30 to 40 mil a year. I don't know.
I will say this though. If you want to make a small trade here and there, acquire Robert Williams from Portland, or you're acquiring Kevin Huerter or Trey Lyles from the Kings for a second round pick here or there. That's bona fide depth.
Again, I think at this point we got to see how this plays out. I got to see how DFS plays with LeBron and AD. He gives them depth in that area. Now it's JJ's job to see who he's going to rotate with this lineup. Are they going to start DFS, or are they going to have him come off the bench? Is he going to be the first guy off the bench? I don't want to mess with stuff that's working right now. It looks like Christie's working as a starter.
He's been a starter since around his 3rd, 4th year in the league, Joe. So he's a starter.
Okay. Do you think that Rui, because I feel Rui's going to be the guy that sits. Does that work for Rui's game?
Yes. Because he's been able to adjust and do it before.
Okay, good. So Rui is likely the person who's going to move to the bench, and then you'll have DFS at the small forward position. So it's going to be a starting lineup of Austin Reeves, Max Christie, DFS, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis. If the Lakers don't make a move the rest of the year, how do you feel about that lineup going into the playoffs?
Pretty good. I think that's the third or fourth best starting five in the West right now.
Mhm. Who's playing point most of the time in that lineup?
It's probably going to be either LeBron or Austin.
Okay. Is Austin going to be able to do what he's been doing the last few weeks with someone who might be able to shoot?
Yes, because he's very capable of playing off ball
He
offensively.
can create enough. Will the defense collapse on Austin if he's going to the paint?
Well, here's the thing, Joe. What's been our problem is that because a couple of our wings that we play a lot, not excluding Rui here, can't create off the dribble when you attack them on a closeout. So DFS can. So the ball would be able to continually move in that instance. If it wasn't just a catch and shoot, you have a guy now that can move with the ball or without the ball, a movement shooter. That's two movement shooters now you have on the roster with LeBron. You really need to incorporate the two of them together in a LeBron-centric offense. So I think you're going to see that too. You're going to see a lot of experimentation with DFS and Dalton Connect playing together with LeBron.
That's pretty good. You should be an assistant coach for the LA Lakers. Would you like to have that job, Sean?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting yelled by JJ. That'd be okay.
So does JJ yell at McMillan, you think, in practice? Does he have that much? I mean, Nate McMillan isn't your average everyday.
I wouldn't yell at Nate McMillan.
Okay, so Sam brings up a good point, and I kind of set you up for this. Does Rui, the volume isn't there. I know the high percentage is nice, but the volume isn't there. Do you see Rui, or do you see JJ getting Rui more looks from three coming off the bench?
I think Rui would get a lot of looks in general off the bench, and that likely includes more 3-point looks. So yeah, I would make Rui my sixth man. I would have a bench of Shake, Rui, Dalton Connect, and you want to sprinkle in Vincent and Reddish in there with those guys. Hey, great, get some defense out there. But yeah, I would revolve the bench scoring around Rui.
Let's say they don't bench Rui. Let's say they take out Max Christie. Do you see him dropping off?
That's a great question. I don't know. I don't see his defense dropping off, but he is gaining more confidence on the offensive end the more he starts. So that's an obvious. So are you willing to shake that confidence up a little bit?
I guess they have enough time to test some of these things, right? But we're going to find out here against a very formidable team. Unfortunately, it is I think they have the best record, right?
Oh, yeah.
Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
Can the Lakers go into Cleveland or play Cleveland at home and be competitive in this game with this going on? Or are they going to kind of fill themselves out, take the L, not kill themselves too much, and get ready for a January that could probably define their season?
Well, I expect those guys to be in the lineup. This is now Sunday afternoon. I expect those guys would be available for Tuesday night.
Because Max has been guarding players well, guys that have.
Well, you're going in the so okay. So this is interesting. So in this matchup, you're going to have three guards that you're going to have to keep an eye on: Mitchell, Garland, and LeVert. And you've got a pesky guard already, Max Christie. I think Max Christie will be tasked with chasing that water bug Darius Garland around. And then you're going to have to deal with Spida. Well, now I got DFS, who's 6'7". He can really crowd Spida. So I've got DFS and Max Christie guarding those two. And you're going to have to rely on, DFS to also hit the boards as well, because you get Mobley and Jared Allen on the other end eating everybody's lunch, Joe. So we're going to see. It's going to be a good test. That is actually a really good litmus test for how you want to play defense in the NBA, or if you play.
Here's
because and again, another tentacle off a trade like this, Joe, is there's no film with DFS with LeBron, AD, Max. You have no idea how they're going to play together. So there's an air of unpredictability to it. And for some game plans, some coaches can overthink and get a little tentative about stuff. It's like use another example, Joe. It's like a young pitcher coming up from AAA to the majors, right? You see a lot of them. They have a great performance, right? 6 innings pitched, 12 strikeouts, 2 walks. It's because nobody's seen him. You don't know what his stuff is like. So it's a trade in the NBA or the NHL specifically have that kind of effect. You haven't seen enough film of them, so you're not sure how to necessarily completely be prepared for what they do.
It's a fairly young season. We've had some assessments on certain players. So, Caesar, welcome. I think this is the first time I've seen you. He is mentioning how that getting rid of Max Christie would be a better option because he doesn't defend and he gets lucky once in a while, is his assessment. I'm not going to say you're wrong there. My thing is the Lakers are only 31 games in. They haven't even gotten halfway through the season. The NBA season is a grind, to say the least. And the way it's played right now, it's even more of a grind because the mentality is to first be cautious than just to go all out game in and game out. And when you play cautiously, you tend to get hurt more that way. It's a mentality. It's a focus. A lot of guys in all sports these days have that mentality because they're not about, hey, this is a badge of honor. We want to be those guys that are available 82 games a year, and we're going to perform night in and night out. There was a time when you would watch the great players, guys like Shaq, guys like Kobe, guys like LeBron, and even back in the day. These guys would have one bad game, and I'm putting quotes on this. Their bad games are great games for any normal player. But let's say Shaq, right? Shaq would average 27 points and 12 rebounds a game. He might have that one game where he scored 21 points and had 9 rebounds. It's very rare that he'd have that. And he would have that because he would miss the chippies. The ball didn't get to him maybe the way it should have because the defense had a certain way of kind of getting that figured out during the game. And it just, you had one of those games every now and then. And it was obvious, like it was a discussion like, wow, Shaq really had a bad game. Now, the discussion is, is Joel Embiid going to be available? Is Jokic out for 3 months? that's not his fault. Not directly, but that stuff happens. I'm not saying that there weren't injuries back in the day. Shaq, again, I'd be a hypocrite saying Shaq didn't take days off. But to me, it's how you play and how the results are of that. Like when Shaq played, he was coming at you.
Mhm.
He was coming. And he wasn't just bringing the heat. He was going to win the game. You knew if he was coming at you, if he was going to have those 30, 13 games, the game is done. There's more value. There was more value in his ability to change a loss to a win than anything he did statistically. The stats were just part of it. But that's the part here that I'm gonna get to. What moves or move at this point is going to give this team the ability to win easier? Can they make shots where they're not putting all their effort in that particular shot? Watch the games and see if the last few games, and they've been playing teams that are not world beaters, but it will change when they do. And that's what they have to assess. They have to assess to see, are these guys going to be able to make it through the season and then have enough energy to play 2.5 more months? And that question is, as of right now, is undecided. It's just not something you can really know. Because sometimes guys can surprise you. Hell, Max Christie surprised me a little bit. He was terrible the first month and a half, but he's been playing good for the last few weeks. Will he have enough focus and energy? Because not a lot of players can do that, no matter how talented they are. This thing right here doesn't work. Cam Reddish was touted before he got to the NBA. This was supposed to be a can't miss. This guy has the skill set. He has the ability to score. He has the body of an NBA player, all this stuff. But what is it? What is your theory on why Cam Reddish can't put it together for a 48-minute game in and game out? And we'll use that as an example on why certain things don't work for teams and certain NBA players. What is it?
I think he was taken too high, first of all, in a draft. But he had a lot of buzz because he played beside 2 All-Americans himself, aside from being one, in R.J. Barrett and Zion Williamson. I think it also happened in a very interesting time period of change for the NBA, Joe. There was more emphasis on 3-and-D. 3-and-D. It's like defensemen or left-handers in the major leagues. You can never have too many of them. So Atlanta stockpiled all these 3-and-D players. I don't think he got the proper development in Atlanta, Joe, because I think partly it's putting pressure on yourself because you're a top 10 pick and you really want to make an impact, right? And you've been there, Joe. You try too hard. You try too hard. And I think the lack of development and him trying too hard and then getting bounced around, like he never got a chance to dig his heels into the dirt of a team that drafted him, right? And really, really dig into the soil and learn how to develop as a professional, because Atlanta didn't do it well. The Knicks didn't do it. Portland had him for a cup of coffee and decided he wasn't worth developing either. Joe, you've seen it. You've seen it yourself. You know a lot of these great college football players end up in a dismal or trashy situation that's out of their control, and they just don't develop as men and athletes. And not a lot said about that. It's usually blamed on the individual, but the team drafting you and selecting you and actually putting in developmental work for 3 to 5 to 7 years. I mean, that onus is on them as much as it is the player. Come on, Joe. You know a lot of these blue chip prospects. They're not bad players. They just the situation they end up is a really shitty one.
Okay, so this plays a huge factor. They go to a place where maybe the professionalism isn't there. They're not taught right out the gate, this is how you play. But there's been plenty of players that went to San Antonio, and you would say San Antonio is kind of a model franchise when it comes to structure, right? Mm-hmm. And they don't work out. I think ultimately what it is Kobe Bryant had a behind the scenes documentary of him getting up in the morning and talking to a crew about kind of his daily preparation. And it was probably one of the few times I actually enjoyed watching the personal side of things. I usually don't like watching that stuff because I don't really want to know about that stuff. I don't care about, oh, they're going to a family trip. Like, that's not my business. That's a private thing. I think they should keep that private, but some people feel comfortable doing that. That's fine. But what he showed is the moment the camera came, Kobe looked like every one of us getting up in the morning. He's got shorts on, a t-shirt, he's barefoot. Hey, what's going on? He's sniffling because he was sick too. I mean, it was a really good realization of like regular human activity. Of course, Kobe being so famous and people being stupid, they don't realize that he's still human and he actually does the same things. We all do the same things, but because he's famous, apparently he's probably, people assume he's got, he's hovering when he gets up in the morning. No.
When I put my pants on,
right,
I put them on one leg at a time.
I don't want to use that cliche because that's obvious, right?
And when they're on, I make gold records.
Yeah. What you got the glimpse of who he really was. This isn't a Kobe discussion, but the mentality, and it's not just Kobe doing this. It's just that I'm using Kobe as an example because that's the video I saw. So Kobe mentioned something that was so true. He goes, I got up this morning not knowing where I was. Totally understandable. You're always traveling. You're in Memphis one day, you're in Charlotte one day, you're in LA one day, whatever. But what he said afterwards was what kind of clicked. He goes, when that happens to me, that makes me feel like I'm unprepared. That right there tells you everything about an NBA player who is a seasoned veteran. Doesn't have to be someone that's Kobe's talent. You can be Keith Willis. You can be Michael Porter Jr. You can be any really good, great player and understand that these guys are getting paid all this money. And the ones that stay and become really good or very good or great, there is a process you cannot deviate from. And those guys like Cam Reddish and who else can I put in there? I guess the Markelle Fultz, since somebody mentioned him today. Those guys come in with all this talent, all this hype, and all this. They were gods before they came to the NBA, and then realized, wait a minute, I can't just put on my shorts and go on the gym and do my thing. I got to prepare, and I got to prepare consistently, morning, afternoon, evening, how I eat, how I dress, how I conduct myself, how I deal with the pressure of this stuff. How do I deal with criticism? It's a lot of stuff. The criticism is, I think, ultimately the killer in all these guys. It's very, very hard.
Because your super ego kicks in. You think you are not good enough.
If you're an insecure person and your entire life you've had your butt kissed, and then all of a sudden you're not having your butt kissed, because once you get to the pros, that entitlement kind of goes away a little bit. You still get, you still are being treated like a god, but there's a lot more of the negative too there. No one cares if you're really bad in high school. No one really cares if you're really bad in college. People care that you're bad in the pros. A good example of the difference between, it's funny how this happens. So Tim Tebow, what's your assessment on Tim Tebow in life? In my book, that guy succeeded and continues to succeed. But for some reason, especially in the sports world, when you fail in the pros, you all of a sudden didn't know how to play the sport. I think that's kind of funny how that happens. If you sucked in college or didn't even play in college, and I'm mentioning that because Antonio Gates, the great tight end of the San Diego Chargers, didn't play football in college. He played basketball at Kent State. Another thumbs up for Kent State. They just keep popping.
If I'm not mistaken, Joe, didn't Tyler Warren not start getting football scholarships until he sent his basketball tape in the
There you
coach
go.
list?
Yes, it happens. Antonio Gates, the freakiest career you'll ever see. He went from a basketball player who didn't play in college. You all thought Matt Castle not starting at USC and Tom Brady being like 6th on the depth chart at Michigan was weird, and they ended up becoming a starting quarterback and arguably the greatest of all time. Dude, Antonio Gates didn't even play football in college, got drafted, and is now going to go into the Hall of – he's a finalist, but he's getting in. He's getting in. How – and he's considered a success. But if he had sucked in the pros and was a All-American at Kent State, people are like, he was a failure. So the pros are a completely different ball game. They're a completely different analyzation on anything and everything. Mental, physical, athletic, it doesn't matter. So it's just the whole thing with, I wish Reddish was better and I wish this. I go, if Reddish was better, he would have never been a Laker. He would have succeeded in Atlanta or succeeded in New York or whatever. And that's the reality of that. So that's kind of where I stand on that. But thank you for coming on here, Sean. Again, you were the catalyst in this. I actually was thinking about doing this, but you kind of tipped it over. So thank you for doing that. I want to thank all our regulars here. Also, we saw a lot of newbies on here. Guys, for those who are listening, I promise there's a very likelihood I'm going to do a nightcap tonight because people have asked, and usually when people ask, I usually like to oblige because that's how this business works. But for those who are new, I've been seeing a lot of new names. Welcome from the Philippines to Chile, wherever you guys are coming up on. Thank you for being here tonight or this evening or this afternoon, wherever you are. We're a very, for the first timers, we are very into Laker basketball. Sometimes we can come off obnoxious. Sometimes we can come off chaotic. At least I know I do. But this is a area where you can get a little bit of everything from certain hosts, certain talent, and I promise you'll be happy with the results because it does come from legitimate information. We are not here to cater to anything. We are here to cater to what's going on, and then we add our own little personality to it. But with that, I want to thank you all. If you guys want to reach me directly, I'm Joe Soro. The Podfather is his nickname. Gerald Glassford is usually the host of the show. It's his show. He wasn't available today because he's on vacation in Seattle, doing family stuff for the holidays. So you'll see his face if this is the first time you've been on the show. You'll see him obviously more and more as you watch the show. Hopefully, you can reach me on my Facebook. My name on Facebook is Johnny Blade. You'll see the Freddie Freeman Statue of Liberty on my profile. Go ahead and send me a DM if you guys want to talk shop or send a hello. If you want to reach me on Instagram, it's my business, SinBlades_turf. We talk a lot about my business on this show because we like to promote our things. And then, of course, the cesspool that it is, I still have a X. If you want to reach me there, that's the one place I have my real name on, which is Joe Soro LFB. You can write me there or hit me up on the DMs as well there. And of course, Sean is kind of under Sean Grice everywhere. You don't have to look too far to find him. If you want to email us, you can find us at LakersFastBreak@yahoo.com. Soon that will change because I don't like having a Yahoo or a Gmail when it comes to business. It's very tacky. So with that, thank you all for the first timers. Thank you for the regulars. I will probably be back later tonight with a nightcap. I'm not 100% sure, but I'll let you guys know. But thank you for being here again. Dorian Finney-Smith, the mainstay in that trade, is coming to the Lakers, and then the trade out is Mr. D'Angelo Russell with 3 second-round picks. Here we are. Here are the Lakers making a move, and also Milton, Mr. Shake Milton is also part of the gig. I don't know much again about him, but we're going to find out soon enough. Thank you again for being here. Until next time, we'll see you next time. That show got us a shitload of subs.
Nice.
That's crazy. We had just hit, what was it?
Gerald said it was 1970 last night.
It hit